The New York Giants 2024 season has finally come to an end, and after a tough season overall and a quarterback carousel where they finally moved on from Daniel Jones, there is some hope going into the 2025 season as the Giants are picking third overall and could potentially get one of the blue chip players in this year's draft. My name is Tyler, here with my brother Ryan, and we're going to break down what to expect in the Giants 2025 offseason, some potential free agents, and also some draft targets that you should be looking out for. Before we get into that, if you like the work that Ryan and I put out and want to help see the Tracy Take grow, the easiest way is to hit that subscribe button, tackle that bell to get notified when new videos come out. While you're at it, leave a like and a comment. Let us know what you would like the Giants to do this offseason and why. And Ryan, let's pull up the first set here. So quickly, just kind of recap: Giants went 3-14 on the season. And statistically, it just was not a good offensive season as a whole. They tried to ride out Daniel Jones, and I think I think like Daniel Jones gave every reason for people who are trying to give him the benefit of the doubt to stop giving him the benefit of the doubt. I think
Yeah.
it was that Germany game when there was a highlight reel of all the missed throws, like wide open throws that you missed, and not missed as in like bad throws, as in like you made the wrong decision. You're just kind of like, man, and his Panthers
Yeah.
defense sucks. Like that's who they were playing in Germany, and
Yeah.
so statistically they were just kind of it's really tough overall with the quarterback play. Ironically, though, Malik Nabers still had was 1,000-yard receiver, 1,200 receiving yards. So that's
Yeah.
one of the bright news. Is like, all right, you got a superstar there in New York. QBs
Yeah.
are going to want to come and play with Malik Nabers. And I will say another bright side too, as well. I think this defense is still a little underrated. I think they have a good thing going with Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeaux, Dexter Lawrence. They need some help in the secondary, which we're going to talk about here in a second. But so that's why I think some of their like the statistics are a little bit misleading. Like eighth overall, I think that secondary is not as good. Eighth overall, I think the defensive front was able to get a lot of sacks to provide some good pressure, but also they were down a lot of games. But also
Mhm.
too, I think their rushing defense is better than 27th when it comes to rushing yards allowed. But it's because they
Yeah.
were down in a lot of games.
Oh, and also Dexter Lawrence got hurt in the latter half of the season as well. Like they had a lot of other issues rather than like X's and O's. And I think starting with Daniel Jones, there were like I remember just going back and watching that video, and he's just looking in the wrong spot, like on a lot of plays. Like it was really bad quarterback play, and that's what ultimately got him benched. And then I think you couple that with the hard knocks of Joe Schoen kind of making the case that it's Daniel Jones' time to stay, and that they need to only offer Saquon Barkley so much money. Like it was a little bit of a calamity for the New York Giants front office,
Well, and
just
that's what's
with
interesting
those
too.
players.
So that they are going to be on the shortest of leaches.
Oh yeah,
But Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen are coming back for the 2025 season. So this could very
yeah,
well be their last offseason going together. And I think that's what's going to be interesting moving forward is like some of the players that are departing. The Giants, according to Over the Cap, as of right now, we're recording this the Monday after the season has ended, but they're sitting at about 54 million overall in cap, about 38 million in effective cap as well. And there are definitely some guys that like some ways that they can increase that a lot. And because one of the things that's going to be interesting, like Drew Lock is moving on as well. Tommy DeVito, he's free agent. Also, Tim Boyle, he's free agent. So those are the main quarterbacks, actually the only quarterbacks I think they had left on the roster after they cut Daniel Jones. So what is that QB room going to look like? Also, too, how are they going to bring in some more weapons? You have the no wide receiver number one, but what other wide receiver number two do you want to come to New York to come and play? I think that will be fascinating to watch. Do they have the cap space to maybe bring in T. Higgins or Stephon Diggs or maybe bring in Amari Cooper? I think would be a very unique compliment. He's much more of that X guy, and you can move Malik Nabers around. But defensively, though, too, it's like, do you bring back Azeez Ojolari? Do you bring back Adoree Jackson, Isaiah Simmons? What are some other guys as well that you want to keep? And what are some of the key free agency guys that you want to bring in? And lastly, offensive line. And I say lastly because that actually might be the second most important outside of quarterback. But this offensive line play is still just really bad. Evan Neal is
yeah.
just not working at tackle. Maybe you kick him inside the guard, or maybe you just cut him. But he's just not working out as well. So whatever you do at the quarterback position, you next got to follow up what to do with the offensive line.
Yeah, and I will say this offensive line was improved. They were the 23rd best rushing offense, which not great, but like that is a serviceable rushing offense. You'd like to get it a little bit better. But then also like sacks allowed, they were 21st with 48. That is like almost half of what they allowed last year through 17 games. And last year, I say that half jokingly because last year they were like historically bad. But
Second
yeah, that
worst offensive line or sack performance for a
of
team
all
since like
time.
84. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And so like that definitely did improve and on this trajectory, hopefully they'll be average, which is definitely if you're an average offensive line, that's definitely serviceable in today's NFL. And like these guys, like to me, the players that are on here are the types of players that seem to rotate teams every single year. Like these are just role players. You're not really losing anybody that's going to be a significant loss to this team. So, especially with $60-ish million in cap space, I think they can go out. They can find a replacement for Adoree Jackson, Isaiah Simmons, Azeez Ojulari, and kind of continue to build depth through the draft and free agency. So, kind of moving on to those guys. And I'm going to do a little bit of projecting here because this is what I feel like the Giants should do this offseason because Brian Daboll, Joe Schoen, they are on a short leash. They do not have time to draft a rookie quarterback, come in, let him develop and do that and learn and kind of slow play this process. They need to go out and get a veteran quarterback that's going to come in, elevate the play of this offense right away, and help them win more games this in 2025, or else they're going to be out of a job. So I think they really need to go with the Sam Darnold, Justin Fields, maybe the reclamation project. Another option would be potentially a trade for Kirk Cousins from the Atlanta Falcons. Or if Aaron Rodgers wants to stay in New York, but the Jets don't want him, I think that could be another option there as well. But I think the reclamation project veteran quarterback is going to be the way that the Giants go. Sorry. And then another option would potentially be trading for a JJ McCarthy, who, while is still very much an unknown, he is a high caliber quarterback prospect that has now spent a year learning under one of the best offensive minds in the league in Kevin O'Connell.
Yeah.
So like there are other quarterback options, even though you're kind of missing out on the top two in the draft, most likely.
Yeah, I do think just kind of looking at they'll probably re-sign Drew Lock as a backup because I think of all
Yeah.
the guys of the three guys that were on the previous list, I think he's the one that's most like backup, like the best to be a backup. Now, and I
Mhm.
don't know too many teams who'd want to try and bring in Drew Lock to be their starter. So maybe he stays in there, be in the system, and then you bring in Justin Fields like for competition, or maybe you bring in JJ McCarthy, like you said. With JJ McCarthy, though, that's going to require that third round pick, and we'll get
Yeah.
to that here in a second. And I don't know if the Giants really want to do that because of who is probably going to be available, but other guys, I think the target of free agency, I think Trey Smith, the guard from Kansas City, I think he's the one that's really kind of sticking out to me as of right now. A lot of other guys, especially guards, who I think would be very interesting to go out and get. Let me pull this up right here. But Cam Robinson is going to be free agent. He was the tackle at Jacksonville, but then he got traded to the Vikings, so he's going to be free agent as well. James Daniels from Pittsburgh, who he did have a pretty serious injury, but he'll be a free agent as well. DJ Humphries, he tore his ACL at the end of 2023, and he played a little bit. He got picked up by Kansas City, but like, do they want to bring him in if he's going to be fully healthy? It's a lot of other different guys on the offensive line side that I think that they're going to take a big look at. But as you mentioned, the offensive line is starting to take some strides. It's just going to be trying to fill out some of those holes, particularly, I honestly, actually just like at the tackle position, because
Yeah.
Andrew
And
Thomas is a good tackle. He just has not been healthy
yeah.
throughout like his career with the Giants. So like, what are they going to do with like at that position? Because they need to have a backup plan just in case.
Yeah, and that offensive line too, I think with better quarterback play, with better protection calls and adjustments, I think will also continue to improve. But they need to draft. This is actually a decent interior offensive lineman class, especially you look at that second round pick. You look Donovan Jackson, Tyler Booker, Gray Zabel. There's going to be some other good interior offensive linemen that can come in and give you some quality reps from day one. Other free agent positions, corner, DJ Reed is listed here, but Charvarius Ward, Carlton Davis are also going to be up there. And then sticking in the secondary, Javon Holland is probably the premier safety prospect. They lost Xavier McKinney last year in free agency. So going out and potentially trying to find a replacement for him is another option. But in the draft, to me, the top target for them is going to be Travis Hunter for a couple reasons. One, I think if you go out and you get a veteran quarterback, like if Sam Darnold is coming from Minnesota, he will be throwing to Jordan Addison, Justin Jefferson, Jalen Naylor, TJ Hawkinson. To me, I think you go get a Travis Hunter. Yes, in my opinion, he's a better corner than wide receiver, but in key situations, you will have Malik Nabers and Travis Hunter on the field for you, and defenses will kind of just be like hoping and praying that they can cover both of them for long enough for their pass rush to get there. And then like, I think that's an option. If you want to go with the quarterback route, I feel like day two is going to have to be their options there, because more than likely those two quarterbacks are going to go up high. Jalen Milroe is my top option there, but Quinn Ewers, Carson Beck as well. I think are going to be good developmental prospects, maybe in the third round. And then Trey Amos, good corner help there. And then Gunnar Helm, really solid receiving tight end out of Texas.
Yeah. And there's a couple of things too, like within like their draft as a whole, because they have 4 picks in the top 100, 4 picks. And even to this is all according to Tankathon as right now. Some of it could change, such as like the comps. And I think the 4th round comp that they have is for Saquon Barkley. And that very easily could actually be a 3rd round comp. So they could have 5 picks within the top 104 picks. So there's a lot of flexibility. So I think they could be even more aggressive if they'd want to trade up into the back end of the 1st round to go get a quarterback that they'd want, if they want to try and develop a guy. But what's interesting though about that is just with the scenario with Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen, and just like with their jobs on the line, do they want to go use one of their crucial picks and then a second pick also too on top of that to go get a quarterback that they might not even develop if things don't go well in the season. So that's what's going to be very interesting about how they maneuver through the draft here as well, because these two guys, like, their jobs are easily on the line. So how concerned are they about the quarterback future if they're not fully confident in the possibility of what these quarterbacks could be, should they then still have a job going into the 26th season? So that's what I think is going to be very interesting with the Giants here.
Yeah, and that is part of the reason too. I feel like a lot of their moves that they make are going to be to win in 2025. Like screw 2026. We need to win right now. And also, like, just kind of looking at the overall outlook of the Giants, they are in a tough division. I mean, the Cowboys largely underperformed this year based off of the talent that was on that roster to start. I know some of it was due to injuries, but the Eagles look like a powerhouse that's not going anywhere. And the Washington Commanders, offensive rookie of the year, Jaden Daniels, if they can get that defense looking somewhat serviceable, then that team is already making the playoffs, could be even more formidable. So they need to go out and they need to win right now. And I think that's the whole point of this offseason is not to look at the bigger picture and draft guys that could be good in 2 to 3 years from now. They need guys that can come in and contribute right away. And I'm very curious to watch them and see how they do it.
It's going to be the ultimate, like, best player available draft.
Yeah. Like, this guy has a higher ceiling, but I know this guy can come in and play this role right now. So we're taking him. Like,
yeah.
So
it'll be fun.
Yeah, let's go ahead. Let's wrap up this video here. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. That is the best way to help out the channel. While you're down there, leave a comment on what you thought of the Giants 2024 season. And also let us know what you think they should do going into the 2025 offseason. And other than that, we will see you guys next time.